Hi, it's Etharal here, and today we are back with our Mount and Blade Gekokujo or Samurai mod. And so obviously we have been playing as a retainer for the Takeda, for Great Lord Takeda, or Takeda Shingen as his actual name was. We have been playing as Matsushina Tenshin, and obviously we are just a retainer in the army at the minute, just a regular sort of foot samurai. So we've still got quite a fair way to go, I think it's safe to say at the minute, but we are developing quite well. We have obviously managed to get an upgrade on sort of the level of unit that we are, and obviously we have managed to help the actual Takeda to expand their lands. Here we are just working around the castle of Iida, as this has been managed to be taken by the Order clan, and obviously that is not something that we can allow the Order to just keep the castle without any fight. We will certainly need to improve it. One thing I will mention, obviously, that has been quite an interesting one, obviously, in this game, is that we have been obviously fighting against the Imagawa and the Order, obviously two people that are to the south of me, whereas obviously it is quite ironic, as the case is that obviously the things that Takeda is most probably known for would be his rivalry, to say the least, with Usagi Kenshin, who of the Usagi clan, who were obviously to the north, and obviously most famous for the sort of 5 battles that happened. And I'm probably going to pronounce this name completely wrong, but do bear with me, of Kawanakajima. I believe that is more or less right. Obviously the 5 battles that happened there between the two of them, although obviously not something that is seeming to be happening in this one, although fingers crossed. It would make me very, very happy if, while we are obviously working as one of the vassals of Takeda Shingen, if it did become a case where the war with Usagi did kick off quite a way, and we were able to basically fight in a battle where both of them took to the field. I think that would be something that would be absolutely great to get to play. Just the idea to be in one of those, particularly, the 4th battle, the really, really big one between the two, would be an excellent one. But anyway, though, getting back to the actual game at hand, obviously we have managed to drive back the Order forces with relative success. We are wiping out rather a large force here, as you can tell. I believe this is probably the force that did take Castle Iida from the Takeda, and obviously the force that we are basically, Takeda Shingen is going to be getting revenge on. As you can see here, we are getting quite a good few items here. We have sort of 3,881 mon at the minute, and we are definitely in a good situation in terms of finances coming in. And I think it is definitely safe to say that once we do, hit a little bit more, we do have, probably once we hit around about 10,000 or so, and next time we go back to Corfu, I believe it is the main city for the actual Takeda. Obviously I do have some standing in there. They are sort of at a +1 opinion of me. I will probably look and try and see if it is something that we can possibly invest in a merchant venture there to be able to get some consistent money coming in for ourselves. Always a nice thing to get to do. And so here we are obviously just involved, the Tenshin is involved in the actual siege of the castle. Now this one, something that I am hoping for is that this castle is, as it has just been taken, they will not have very many forces, so hopefully it should be something that we can get into quite quickly with any luck there. You can see here, obviously, this castle, something I was talking on the other episode, that there isn't really siege equipment needed, although you will see obviously the castles are very compartmentalized. This one is one of the maps which is very much the case. You see you've got this initial courtyard when there is obviously a lot of enemies defending it. Obviously you've got all these windows in the top. You've got sort of 6 windows which obviously have archers in just firing down on you, and then you've obviously got to get up this second choke point already. So you come in through the gate, that's your first choke point, and then you've got a choke point getting up these stairs while you've got a load of archers all firing down on you. So it is definitely, an interesting situation to be trying to fight your way through there. Once obviously you do manage to get through there, though, you do obviously come into this rather large courtyard, which is where obviously the attackers do tend to make a good bit of headway. And then you have to, yet again, as you can see here, there's this small step area here. You have to get up here. Again, another choke point where they can really make their numbers count and really remove obviously the advantage of the mass numbers from the actual attackers. And this is before you've even got to the castle, so you've hit 3 choke points before you even reach the main castle. So that is very much how the defense obviously in this game works, and this mod, and it is a really nice feature. And one thing I will say that they have managed to do really well is certainly removing that idea of the battle on the walls and things like that, but it make this other really interesting feature, which does still make the actual, sieges still very much an interesting thing to get to try and do. And so here, we're just obviously talking to Takeda Shingen there, just to make sure obviously that he is, improving the relations with us and everything like that, obviously as we go. You can see there, Kofu and the Takeda lands have managed to expand. We are obviously still holding the castle, or we've managed to reclaim, I believe, the castle that obviously we took in the early one. And so here we've obviously just gone back to Kofu just to resupply and everything, and you're going to sort of obviously see just how much it is that our mon is going to be increasing. One thing I'm looking at doing obviously is if I ever do leave this army, I want to make sure that I am going to have a decent bit of resources to be able to use, and so we are basically going to make sure that we are basically saving. As you can see, we've already got some gloves, we've got some sandals, we've got a helmet, and we've also got a horse, so that way if we ever do leave, obviously we've got our katana wakizashi and some decent armor. So we have obviously got the money there. You can see we've got over, we're coming up on sort of 5,000 mon now, but also as well we do have better equipment that we haven't had to pay for as well. So it definitely puts us in a very good position if we do ever decide to leave and become our own lord or vassal for the Takeda daimyo, which hopefully is not going to be too long away, and then we can start leading our own forces, getting a little bit more control over our own actual destiny. And so that bit there, quite fun there, getting to see obviously the Imagawa, I believe it was, and possibly the Tokugawa as well, basically fleeing at the sight of the armies of the Takeda. And you can see there the actual Yoshiwara castle, the one that obviously we did siege in the early one. Unfortunately, it has been taken back by the Imagawa. Not brilliant, but something that we can deal with at least. And so we're going to go here into this very large battle of sort of 300 guys. Well, actually over 300. Obviously we're outnumbering them 2-1, thankfully, so we've still got very decent chance of being able to beat them. And more importantly, we are going to hopefully be able to get a good few kills, so that hopefully we can actually improve our own experience and therefore improve our rank. You will notice as well, one thing that I have decided to do is I've decided to remove the death notifications. Basically, the reason for that one being is that they are sort of covering up quite a large portion of the screen, making it a little bit difficult to see things. So I've decided, I am actually going to get rid of that one for you, so hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit more of the action as it is actually taking place. And so here, Tenshin is pretty much slicing through a lot of the guys. Not 100% sure exactly how many guys I am killing, as I can't see it in the bottom left corner, but it does still seem to be quite a few guys which are actually taken down. Obviously, I'm considering if we do make this obviously a more realistic game and in the future, then it might be something that we may just get rid of those as well. So the only thing that we can sort of see would be our health. Obviously that's not something, obviously I am sort of blocking that out a little bit, unfortunately. But, that's hopefully something at least will give us more of an indication. And so here you can see that linking to one thing I was also mentioning last time, of the idea of the mass battles being formations until they do actually make contact and then descending obviously into skirmishes. That is very much what I am doing at the minute. So I am fighting against some of the actual archers guys. I've managed to get into the side, although as they are certainly samurai marksmen as well, they are still very much getting their katanas and things like that, which means that they're still not exactly pushover, shall we say, in melee. They are managing still to hold their own. See there, so one thing we'll mention obviously as well, that if you are enjoying this series, please do be sure to subscribe. It's probably one of the best ways to let me know that I am on the right path for what you are wanting to see from my videos. And if you are enjoying it obviously as well, then that does mean that you get notifications of, when new videos come out there. So there you go, we can see we've managed to get a new weapon there, so 2 chipped tachi, which just do appear to be basically the exact same as a katana, although they are slightly faster and slightly longer and do a little bit more damage on the thrust. So I think we're going to change that out just to get ourselves basically a better sword. Would be really nice if we could get like a balanced katana or something like that, but I suspect that is something to get those levels of sort of more specialized equipment. That is something that we are unfortunately going to have to pay for, but that's something obviously that we will deal with at a later date. And so here we have moved in to take down some of the Tokugawa forces who are trying to push further south into the Takeda lands. It does seem like the Takeda are beset from all sides. Obviously, we've got the Tokugawa and the Order, the very famous, obviously, alliance that did take place during the Sengoku Jidai, arguably one of the only real sort of solid, consistent alliances and things. Obviously, here does seem to be happening, and they are moving in from our south, also through one of a pass which then basically pulls into our sort of northwest as well. So hopefully the Takeda should be able to hold their own and keep things going. Although this army here, even though we do quite massively outnumber them, it is very much a case that the general, obviously Takeda Shingen, has decided not to go for the typical mass cavalry charge, as even in this game he does seem more willing to do. And in this game, or at least in this battle, we seem to be doing the one things that I've noticed was a bit of a fault with the actual game of the Warsword Conquest mod, where armies seem to just circle around each other a little bit, which, let's be honest, when you're playing as a melee guy, is not the part of the game that you are most interested in, is safe to say. Although, given that obviously you've seen there's been very many battles in this, thankfully the map is quite condensed, so we are getting quite regular battles, so this is only sort of the first one where this sort of thing has started to happen, so it could be a lot worse, and can definitely deal with it once every now and then. It does certainly make, as the number of forces are getting closer to them, and you're obviously not wanting to try and just sweep them out of the way with a decisive victory as quick as possible, it would certainly make sense from the general's point of view to be sort of trying to pick off as many as we can with arrows, as obviously we do have superior numbers still, but not as many as we would maybe like, sort of thing. And so here we are, obviously Matsushita Tenshin is just sort of standing at the front. He's sort of very much sort of thinking about going in. Does he want to run in? Would really like to run in, but he doesn't dare. When he does take a bullet to, I'd like to think probably the shoulder, does do a decent bit of damage. Not enough to really threaten him massively, but enough to make him rethink his position of being stood right out in front of everybody and decide to get back into formation and in line, waiting for the main sort of charge where the armies will come together. As you can see, they are steadily getting closer, so it is very much going to be a case that this will be happening likely sooner rather than later. It is quite strange having to get used to the idea, though, obviously, of not seeing the amount of deaths that are going on, although I can definitely see that they have lost a fair number of guys, and they do not have the most experienced army at the best times anyway, so, hopefully this one should go reasonably all right for us there. And so here, the two armies have now actually clashed, although they are still very much spread out, particularly the actual Tokugawa people. They seem to be not exactly the best sort of force. They have been pretty much wiped out relatively easily there, and so we are in a really good position just to wipe out the final couple of guys. And so there you go, yet again another victory, with us only losing one guy, them losing 46. So I think that is definitely a good trade-off, at least in terms for us sort of thing. And so we are in, pretty good place. Hopefully we will be able to push back. It does look like we have actually managed to take another castle down in the south, even though we lost the other one, and we are actually upgraded, and as we did mention, we are going to become a mounted Takeda retainer. So we are now actually wielding a horse, although we do have pretty much everything else is the same. We do now have an actual Takeda back banner, which is something always very, very nice to see without a doubt there. So I think I am pretty much going to just sort out my inventory, and then I'm going to leave it there for today. So thank you very much for watching. Do hope you enjoyed, and of course be sure to subscribe for notifications of more videos that are going to obviously be coming out quite regularly. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been Etharal here at EGN, and I shall see you next time.